call the select board to order on July 24th. May I have a roll call, please, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Bessie, Ms. Wertz, Mr. Slavin, myself, Jared Chadwick, and Ms. Whiteside. All present. Missing is...
Nobody right now.
I'm expecting them.
Yeah, we are. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance.
Where's the flag? Used to be right there.
Say it anyway. Hit it. Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Town business. As we have done in previous situations, the powers that be, that means Derek,
Close it, but not tight.
Not tight.
That's good.
thank you. To move under our bylaws, we can tell the moderator to move an item on the warrant into different order. And the reason we are going to be signing what we have in front of us tonight is because Articles 2, 3, and 4 are going to be on a consent agenda to pass over, okay? And Article 1, which is the biggie, we want it to go last. Article 5 is the $3 million one, which we certainly want to pass. The other one is up for, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Derek is they're going to borrow money for that one, just so everybody knows.
Oh, 3 million?
Yes.
So, I need a motion to, just exactly the way that is.
I move that the board vote pursuant to Bylaws Division 1, Article 1, Section 2, to certify that Article 5 and Article 15 from the 2022 Springtown meeting should be taken up immediately prior to Article 1. Explanation for is Article 5 amend Article 15 from the 2022 Springtown meeting may have important fiscal consequences and should be heard first.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll go for a roll call vote. Ms. Wertz?
Yes.
Mr. Bessie?
Yes.
Mr. Slavin?
Sure.
Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
And myself, yes, 500. Would you mark every one of those, please? Now, I would like to change my vote on Article 1. I voted favorably, as did Tricia, and it lost. So I can't ask for a reassessment, but I could ask one of you if you would.
Make a motion to go back and revote and revote it to the...
Second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on that? Hearing none, I'll go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slater?
Sure.
Ms. Wertz?
You're changing it from a yes to a no,
Doesn't matter. It
Doesn't
just has to be
matter. I
voted.
just need to, yeah.
but I'm just curious why.
We'll do that after
We
we vote on
can't
this.
do it until we have a motion and to do it.
Okay, yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
And myself, yes. It is before you again. One of you who made the motion previously should make the motion. You move favorable action on Article 1.
Basically, make a motion of favorable action on Article 1 of $36 million.
Second.
Now, because of Robert's rules, we have to make a motion for favorable action. In order to not do it, we vote it down. Okay? I have asked for it to be reopened because I want to vote against the article. I previously was
For, yeah,
supportive of it, yes.
Yeah.
So is there any further discussion?
Tell me, what triggered your
I
Yeah.
don't think that's proper.
Yeah, I think we can.
If Judy wants to change, she can explain it, but you can't ask for one.
You can. But
Further
So my-
information?
so my question would be is obviously it was voted 3 nay, 2 yes
Mhm.
at the last meeting.
Yeah, it was
Now-
actually 2.
2, 3,
3,
0.
0, yeah.
Yes. So my question is okay, if you want to change your vote and say it goes to 1 and 4,
Mhm.
1 yes, 4 no's,
Mhm.
does that change the dynamic of what we've already done.
No, what it does is,
Puts it on record because he will be asked for the recommendation of the select board.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah,
asking
no,
for,
I appreciate that.
I just want just full clarification before I,
Two copies.
but, okay, no, that's all, I just wanted to,
Okay,
but I'll be quiet now that Derek's
all
left.
right, thank you.
Do you have the piece of paper that has that unfavorable?
Yeah, I have it. Well,
Yeah,
Okay, so I have no more questions, that was it.
okay. Is there any further discussion on the motion to for favorable action? Hearing none, I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin?
I think you want to vote it for either yes or no.
Yes, so, yeah. Okay, if you vote
Yes.
yes,
You're in
you
favor.
are in favor of the article. If you vote no, you are not in favor of the $36 million passing,
You can also abstain too.
and you can abstain.
No.
Okay, roll call vote.
No.
Yep, Bessie?
No.
Wertz?
abstain.
Chard?
No.
And myself, no. So you will record it on the grid as
041.
041, okay?
Yep.
Okay. Then one other thing I want to bring up. We got a lot of complaints today about the traffic on Route 6 and 28 in front of Waterways.
Yeah.
I've spoken with Chief Oswald, who is really unhappy with the traffic pattern there and how he can get to Waterways with an ambulance or a responder. I talked with Paul Turner. I talked briefly with Derek to have him ask Dave Evans whether he had any issues. And the issue is that the traffic a couple of days ago, over the weekend, was backed up 400 miles. And the first responders can't get there. Alan talked with DOT today as well, right? Can you bring us up to date?
Yeah, what I did was after I got a call about the complaints, etc., I called Mike McGuire, who's the chief engineer for the 6028 project. Because I already knew that we had taken the road, but there was an actual turn in front of Waterways. Because of the way the layout of the road was, it was not going to work. It's going to cause more problems, so they basically filled it in and stopped it way beforehand. Waterways technically really should have gone before ZBA or whatever with a site plan review, because buying the properties they have like 3 or 4 entrances and exits technically, because the curb cuts are on the road there. And what should have happened is there should be one entrance and exit to control the traffic. They've got to go before the ZBA or whatever they have, and they delayed it, they should have done it already. So at this point, as far as the road construction goes, there's nothing they can really do. And the consensus really is that Waterways should be going to Walter and the police department and hiring details to control traffic on both sides. They may not be happy, but it's the only solution that's available right now.
It
So,
took me a half hour to get from my house on Glen Charlie Road to Harbor Freight.
so my,
The problem is going to be, just so we all know, come tomorrow through Friday, the temperature is going to keep going up, the humidity's going to go up. And I don't want to say this, but I'll say it, I'm not sure how
Just
well
don't
they
close the door.
control the capacity of what they're allowed. Because of
so,
all the extra parking, you know, how much, do they exceed the capacity? We don't know.
so the $1 million question that I have is, obviously we know that the Waterways parking as it was didn't change. Now you're talking about they made some additional curb cuts?
No, they did change. They bought some properties and cleaned some buildings up.
Yeah, I know they
And
bought,
they're right there, they're outlined in.
I know they bought the Wendy's,
Yeah,
but
What they didn't do when they bought it in 2017, they didn't go and get a new site plan.
when they bought what in 2017?
When
Waterways.
Waterways was bought from Kells to whoever owns it now, and they should have. So
They
now,
No, in
That was
2017,
2019, whatever it was.
yeah, 2017 was when, I think, or 2019, they bought the Wendy's, then Kells sold that after to
Right.
Isker.
Okay,
the
so,
bottom line was, the actual answer to do with Mass DOT as well is that they didn't want to go ahead and do a site plan review until the road was finished. Technically, The road in front of them is finished, and also the holes have been removed in that area, and all the locations are done. So they kind of drag their feet on this.
So I guess my question is, did somebody from the town drop the ball on making sure that they did what they were supposed to do? I mean, who does that fall on?
I hate to say it, but it doesn't fall on the selectmen because it's not our purview, it's David. It really falls upon the landlords to make sure something is done. It falls on,
So like planning or
and also,
ZBA?
you know, I hate to say it, I don't like picking on inspection services either, but unless they get a complaint, they really normally don't pick stuff up.
The other thing to remember about our conversations through this time period is Waterwiz was coming after a liquor license to be able to serve all through wherever they're parked there.
They
And we
pushed that on.
were up against that and focused on that. And I do recall, I don't know if it was out of the meeting conversation, but I think it was during the meeting, us discussing at that point in time that they were going to need to pay to have a detail be there to manage traffic in and out, not only because of the volume of it, but because people were bringing in all sorts of alcohol, and there ought to be some observation on what
If
was
I'm not
happening.
mistaken, the thing we talked about with the detail, I don't believe it was with police. I was the one that made the recommendation to
No,
have
we
the
just
ambulance.
talked,
on
we
hand.
just talked in this room here, we didn't talk directly to the police.
We would have had some input if we actually got involved with the liquor license. We could have then looked a little bit at the parking, looking at the layout, how much parking do you have, how do you control the number of people? That's when we would have some authority, because we issue that license.
So,
So what would trigger, no, I'm sorry to interrupt, site plan review is if they came forward with new, buying property adjacent to it would not trigger site plan review.
Not by
No,
itself.
but different use of that property does.
Right.
When they
but
tear
the-
Wendy's down and use it as a parking lot,
Right.
that kicks it off.
that's
When
when,
was it torn down?
it hasn't been torn down.
Exactly.
When it's
It's
torn
still-
down.
Yeah.
So it's, we're in a chicken and an egg
So,
situation.
but how can we, so if they haven't done anything to trigger a site plan review, how can we go to them and enforce them to have details?
We really
Because,
can't unless we get a complaint from the police department or the fire department or EMS.
Which we're getting complaints about, so therefore.
But directly from one of those three bodies.
Inspection
which we haven't yet.
Correct.
Inspection service, you can go ahead and cite them, which is gonna happen, saying you have a problem. You know, that's
But
how
if
it
they're
starts.
not, but I guess my big thing is if they haven't technically done anything wrong at this point, because they haven't changed anything, even though they bought the property.
When the prior person still owned the property, they had bought things, they had knocked down the gas station, et cetera.
Mhm.
They never, because you have 10 or more spaces, when you go to do something, what happens is that triggers a new site plan review.
But if it didn't, but if it wasn't, so I have to, if
I know.
I'm going on consistencies, we had an issue with a business in town that we couldn't necessarily put the hammer to because he wasn't the owner of the business. And now we have a same scenario where things happened before it was purchased by the new owner.
But they recognized the issue, and they said, well, we will go ahead and do a site plan review when the road is finished. It's already on record that way. There's enough linkage here that we can go and do it.
As long as at the end of the day, there's a trail of discussions that have happened that are on paper. But I guess, I mean, my concern would be valid if there wasn't, because we weren't able to do something to it, you know, so it,
There's even paper, there's paper trail in Mass DOT also about
And
this.
I think the whole inspection zoning, that's almost tertiary to what we're in now.
Yeah.
There is a public safety matter, and we can impose those sorts of guidelines during a public safety issue, or we can close down the business if we feel it's a public safety
And
matter.
that's what Paul.
Not that we're advocating
And,
for
yeah,
that.
and Mr. Turner's citing of the situation
Right.
is strong enough for us to be able to go ahead and require it.
No.
It's
Police, ambulance, or
Fire.
or fire.
So
Okay.
police have an
So
issue.
not Mr.
And we
Turner.
had, Sunday was obviously a perfect storm, while turnovers a lot of times are on Saturday. When the traffic's backing up on 25, people are taking Cranberry Highway. And now we're also seeing them push over now through Onset.
I mean, the weekend was an absolute crap show, absolutely.
Well, you got,
And
say you
coming
got
out this weekend
1,300
again.
people at Waterways at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the majority of the.
I mean, it took me 45 minutes to get to Home Depot. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous.
So the
It
other
was
thing-
the
It's like
first
the old days.
truly good weekend we've had
Right.
this summer.
Since
Yeah.
COVID.
It's like
So-
the old days.
I did ask Turner what the capacity was, and he says it's 1,300 people. Well, are they standing there with clickers and counting? Because if you,
I think they do have the
They have,
clickers.
well, no, they don't have the clickers, but they
Have
scan,
a gate or something.
yeah, they scan the tickets.
so what do they do? Stand you there in the broiling sun and wait for somebody to leave?
No, they don't sell, they don't sell tickets over capacity. Once they hit their capacity, they cut it
They're
off.
supposed to
Okay,
stop.
all right.
Yeah, they cut it, once they hit, well, they build a buffer. They have like a 50 or 75 ticket buffer, so when they hit, if it's 1,300, then at 12:25, they're already stopping
Okay,
tickets to make sure that they, so if they do get a walk-up or two,
yeah,
they know they have that buffer, sure, you can come in because
So
we have the ability.
okay.
are there tickets by the people or by the car?
The tickets are by the
By the
people,
people,
yes.
okay.
So if it's
Head count.
1,300, then it's head count, it's not car count, because they don't have enough parking to support,
Yeah.
1,300 people.
So I wanted to ask Rich what we really could do, but I think,
I think it's up to Paul to do whatever.
well,
can
he
to
told me it was up to those three, to fire, EMS, and police.
I know I talked to Dave Evans before about it,
Yeah.
and he said he was going to give me some numbers on how many rescue runs that they do there a summer. But the issue is I guess at the police department, they are not separated.
Right,
So when it comes from EMS
Right.
as to police, it's not separated how many that are there.
right.
I think it's basically that Paul can let them know it's an issue, and if it becomes enough of an issue, safety, et cetera, I think he has the ability to actually shut down the
Right, but I
facility
don't
for
think
the
we want
day.
to shut it down. I think we want to have them provide police.
But that's the only hand we do that, I believe, right now.
I think that would be a very bad card to play.
Yeah, back
But it's all you
into
have.
traffic management days, going way back into, high school, college jobs. Typically what happens is when you start hitting capacity, you have somebody out there waving the cars on. They're going to catch a lot of heck.
Oh, yeah.
Cars won't continue, traffic will still go, because everybody will give you a piece of their mind, we get it. They came down with their families, and probably been a long ride for them. But the main point is get some sort of detail out there. Now, the idea that we can just whip up police officers for a detail on this,
We don't have it.
We're not doing it.
Yes, but
They don't
details
have
don't
it.
only have to be to our town.
They could be, well, they could be
Once-
sheriff's department, things like that.
So that's a state highway,
Right.
You could get state police
We
involved.
got guns and badges, we're good.
So,
I don't have badges, I might have guns, but does that work?
so can you
Yeah.
speak with your two department heads?
Should Paul contact Walter, since it's in his.
Yeah, I talked to
wheelhouse?
Walter about it, so we can see, if this is what the board wants and such, we see a safety issue, and we can have patrols out there, as soon as it backs up, they can start moving people along, we can have them do it.
But it
But
would-
I would say that they should get something.
Are we talking about 7 days a week or only certain days of the,
I would think you do the
So, I think
weekends.
the
and-
weekends.
Thursday to Sunday?
But we're about to hit a heat wave in the cities, we'll have a little reprieve down on our end, but that you're gonna have a lot of hot people trying to get out of
That was a good song.
And I think the
I
other,
know over by me, so there's the restaurant that serves all the fish up by the,
Cool Cove?
no, at a place at Marion,
Brewfish.
not Bluefish.
Turks.
Turks.
Church is not opposed.
And,
Yeah, I
and
would.
they have
You would know
to,
all.
Right, they have to have
they
it.
have to have a detail out there all the time on the weekends, and I think they.
But they've got a liquor license.
Thursday,
We don't
Friday,
have that
Saturday,
here.
Sunday.
And we've
But
got
the
5
point
minutes
is-
where we have to get out of here.
But
Yeah.
the point is, they have the traffic build up, that's not as bad as we have here, but it's bad. And they've had to, since they opened up the second parking lot, they've had to have a detail out there once the summer.
Right, but they have a
hits.
liquor license, and so
Yeah.
that could have been a requirement.
With
So
the
what can we
you're
do?
right, we do need to get going to the
Go right
other
to-
room.
Yeah.
What we can have is make sure that our police are doing patrol, and frankly, if it's getting outrageous, whether it's a weekday or not, We can have them pull in, move everybody along, move them out of there,
Okay.
and it will be upsetting, but, you know, we gotta be able to make sure that it's safe.
The biggest problem is their parking, because they do it from the back to the front.
Yeah.
If they started early in the morning, put them to the front, to the back, close the lot and move over, it'd be perfect. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
And non-debatable roll call?
Yes.
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 And myself, yes.